We're not talking about cafes today, we're talking about trains, and not little kiddie-sized choo-choo trains, but big trains that people have a bad habit of driving into out in the country. And the topic of this is really about people not looking for what they don't expect to see. And I guess this is a problem we experience a lot as cyclists. But anyway, here we are south of Fremantle, and there's a goods line which runs down the coast a bit, not that far, but there are numerous little mazes across it that pedestrians and cyclists have to go through. These are a little bit different to where the passenger trains run, where the line is electrified and there's trains every 10 to 15 minutes. And not only do they have mazes at these crossings, but they also have electronic gates which go back and forth, and some really, really, really annoying beeping things which can be very, very loud. And look, these are quite effective at stopping people getting cleaned up when crossing the tracks. But I was really surprised the other day when I was riding down through South Freo and there's a goods train. I just really wasn't expecting it. I mean, there's a train line there, there's level crossings all the way down the line, but because those trains run so rarely, you just don't expect to see them. Now, quite sensibly, this train was wandering along at about walking pace. So if any drivers did decide to cut through the boom gates, or any pedestrians or cyclists didn't look both ways properly as they're going through the mazes, you wouldn't get cleaned up. And this is, I guess, where the line kind of starts in the northern part of North Fremantle. You can see, big boom gates, flashing lights, all that kind of stuff. But even though they have, stop signs or giveaway signs out in the country, people still manage to drive into the side of trains at high speed, presumably at night. I'm not sure. But look, last time I was over here, I went out to a mate's farm out in the wheat belt. And to get from town to their farm, you got to cross the railway line. And, we're belting along this country road at 100 kilometres an hour, and the train line comes up and it's a stop sign, and he just blew straight through it without even slowing down. I was like, mate, that was a stop sign at a level crossing. Weren't you even going to slow down and have a look? It's like, no, they're doing all the wheat carting by truck these days. The trains aren't running. It's like, well, how do you know they're not going to send a maintenance train out to maybe just survey the line to check the quality of it? Which, is the kind of thing they have these days. They've, got rail cars which have got cameras and sensors and, X-ray machines and ultrasonic doodads and all the rest of it all over them to check the quality of the track and the ballast and all that stuff. They might run those out there every now and again just to make sure that the line could be brought back into working condition if they wanted to. And yeah, you'd go belting along, not even looking left or right, and go straight into the side of it, and that's it, game over. Thought never even crossed his mind. It was just, no, trains aren't running. I don't have to look. I don't have to slow down. I certainly don't have to stop. And nobody in the district does, because we've all got the same mentality. And then they wonder why every now and then, some farmer goes ploughing into the side of a wheat train or a coal train. And, they want to upgrade flashing lights, and they want to, light the trains along the sides and all the rest of it. Well, none of that matters if you don't actually stop at the stop sign and look, because the signs do say stop and look for trains. They don't say just go blowing through at 100 kilometres an hour because you don't expect to see anything here. How does this relate to cycling? Well, I was actually having an interesting chat in the pub the other night with a couple of mates, and we were talking about how a couple of us had been hit by drivers that look straight at us and then drove into us. And, a mate of mine ended up with a broken bone in his neck. Didn't break his neck, he just cracked one of the kind of stegosaurus bones that sticks out of your vertebrae, where a driver was coming along, was turning right across in front of him, stopped, looked straight at him, and as he rode past, turned and drove into him. He didn't ride into the car. The driver drove into his bike, knocked him over, ended up in hospital for a while. And same's happened to me at a roundabout. Driver looked straight at me and then proceeded to drive into the side of me, after that stopped. So it's just an issue, I guess, we've always got as cyclists to make sure, we can dress up in day glow stuff, we can put flashing lights on our bikes, we can wear funny things on our heads, and drivers can still look at us and not see us because, if they're just not expecting to see you there, you're in trouble. And it's like this train. I wonder how many times the drivers of those trains have had to stop those trains where these mazes are because people have gone back and forth from the suburb over on the left there to the beach over on the right hundreds and hundreds of times. They walk through the mazes with their kids. They never look because they never see a train. And then one day, there's a train right on top of them. And you'd think, surely you'd see this big noisy thing approaching you even at low speed. And I reckon the answer is no. I reckon people don't. They just blank it out because they don't expect to see it there. What works though is a higher frequency of movement. So obviously, if there were trains going up and down here like there are, if the freight trains were going up and down here every 15 minutes like the passenger trains are, people would know, oh yeah, every time I go to the station, 1 in 3 times I'm going to see a train. So I should stop and I should look because I should expect to see them. And I think this is where the old argument about cycling safety in numbers starts to kick in. That the more cyclists there are on the roads, the more used to seeing them drivers become, and they start to look for them. So, the most dangerous thing really is to be the only cyclist in the village because people just aren't going to be looking for you. Anyway, that was a bit of a segue off into a strange topic, I guess. But if you ever are over here and you see these mazes, and it says stop and look for trains, yeah, you should stop and look for trains because sometimes they turn up quite unexpectedly.